The rain had just stopped when Evan Carter opened the door of his small apartment in New Brighton City. He looked up at the gray sky and took a deep breath. The air smelled like wet metal and dust. It was another quiet evening, and the city lights were flickering on one by one. Evan lived alone. He was a young engineer, clever but unlucky. Work had been slow for months, and he was behind on rent. His apartment was small, just 2 rooms and a narrow balcony that looked over the old train tracks. Most nights, Evan spent his time fixing small machines or designing gadgets that no one ever bought. One day, while searching for part-time work, he found something strange on the government job portal, a new program called the Interstellar Cultural Exchange. The ad said it was a peaceful cooperation project between humans and alien visitors. Chosen participants would host an alien guest for 6 months to promote friendship and understanding. In return, they would receive a full living allowance and technical credits. At first, Evan laughed. "Aliens living here?" he muttered. But then he remembered his unpaid bills and empty fridge. He applied. 3 weeks later, an official letter arrived. His request was accepted. The document said, "Host assignment, Karel of the Tathari Confederation. Arrival time 1930 local Earth time. Guidelines: maintain respect. Avoid direct electromagnetic interference. Refrain from panic." The last line made him uneasy. Still, he cleaned his apartment the entire day, moving tools, polishing the floor, and making space for his new housemate from the stars. At exactly 7:30 p.m., his living room lights dimmed. The air vibrated softly, like a low song from inside the walls. A bright sphere of blue light appeared, floating in the center of the room. Evan stepped back, his heart racing. The sphere unfolded, stretching into a shape that looked half liquid, half solid. It shimmered, forming a tall figure made of glass and light. "Greetings," said a voice, not through the air, but directly inside Evan's mind. "I am Karel of the Tathari Confederation. Are you my assigned host?" Evan blinked, amazed. Yes. I'm Evan. Welcome to Earth. And, my home." Karel tilted his head. His body glowed softly, pulsing with color as if trying to mimic human gestures. "This structure is small, yet warm. Thank you for accepting me." Evan smiled nervously. "Yeah, it's not much, but it's home." That night was awkward. Karel didn't eat food, but absorbed energy through light. He asked strange questions like, "Why do humans sleep?" And "Why does sound called music make you feel?" Evan tried to explain, though he wasn't sure Karel understood. Still, Karel seemed curious about everything. Books, photographs, the ticking clock on the wall. He even touched the old guitar in the corner and made it play a single note with a gentle vibration from his hands. The sound echoed beautifully through the room. Evan laughed. "You're a natural musician already." Karel's body flickered in bright blue. "Music," he repeated. "It is emotion arranged in time. We do not have this on Tethar." Over the next few days, they began learning from each other. Evan taught Karel simple things: how to open a door, how to speak using a voice synthesizer, how to use a tablet. In return, Karel showed Evan how his body was made of millions of energy crystals controlled by thought. He could bend light, project holograms, and even power devices for short periods. One morning, Karel watched Evan fixing a broken drone. "Your machines are fragile," Karel said. "Why not make them stronger?" Evan shrugged. "We do our best with what we have. Humans aren't perfect. We learn by making mistakes." Karel seemed to think about that for a long moment. His form dimmed slightly, like a person frowning. "Mistakes," he said softly. "We are not allowed mistakes on Tethar." That sentence stayed in Evan's mind. One evening, Evan returned from work to find Karel sitting still in the dark. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of city traffic outside. "I have been studying human power systems," Karel said when Evan entered. "I believe I can help improve them. May I test an idea?" Evan hesitated. "As long as you don't blow up my apartment?" Karel's colors brightened. "I will not." He placed his glowing hands over Evan's old power terminal. A soft light spread through the cables. The lamps flickered, then glowed brighter than before. For a few seconds, the entire block shimmered with pure white light. Then suddenly, everything went dark. Evan jumped. "Karel, what happened?" Karel looked confused. "I do not understand. I only wish to increase efficiency." Sirens wailed outside. The whole neighborhood had lost power. Emergency drones flew overhead. Within minutes, 2 security officers knocked on Evan's door. City Energy Division, one said. There was an overload traced to this building. What happened here? Evan tried to explain. It was an accident. My guest was just experimenting. The officer frowned. Experimenting with what? Alien tech? Carell stepped forward calmly, his body glowing faintly. I am responsible, he said through his speaker. I did not intend harm. The officers exchanged uneasy looks but didn't arrest anyone. They only warned Evan that further incidents would lead to removal from the exchange program. After they left, Carell stood silently near the window. The glow of his body dimmed to a faint silver. I have brought trouble, he said. Perhaps it is better if I leave. Evan looked at him, tired but sincere. It was an accident, Carell. You were trying to help. Everyone makes mistakes, and even humans. Especially humans. Carell turned toward him, his crystal eyes reflecting the faint light from the city. Yet your kind forgives. That is rare, Evan smiled. Maybe that's one of our better mistakes. For the first time, Carell laughed, a sound like a chime echoing through glass. Days passed. The news talked about the power surge incident caused by alien tech. Some people demanded that all alien guests be removed. Others argued that cooperation should continue. Evan stopped watching the news. He focused on repairing the damage and helping Carell adjust to life on Earth. Carell began learning humor, which didn't always go as planned. Once he tried to make a joke by imitating a commercial voice saying, "Buy energy. Half price today only." Evan almost dropped his cup laughing, slowly. Their home felt less like two strangers living together and more like a real friendship. Then one night, while Evan was asleep, Carell stood on the balcony, looking at the stars. His body glowed faintly with silver light. Suddenly, a soft tone echoed inside his mind, a signal from far away. The message was not in words but in patterns of fear. Carell stiffened. The frequency was familiar, a coded warning used only in emergencies by the Tathari fleets. He translated it mentally. Void signatures detected. Origin unknown. Prepare for possible contact. Carell's light dimmed to near darkness. He looked up at the night sky. Something out there was coming. Something he hoped would never find this small blue world. Inside the apartment, Evan turned in his sleep, unaware of the silent fear crossing his alien friend's mind. Carell whispered to the stars, "Not again. Please, not again." His glow vanished completely as he stood motionless, listening to the quiet hum of the earth below, a world full of mistakes, hope, and forgiveness. The next morning began like any other day. Sunlight entered through the half-open curtains, painting gold lines across the small living room. Evan was fixing an old coffee machine while Carell sat silently near the window, his glowing hands folded together. But inside Carell's mind, something was wrong. The night signal he had received still echoed in his memory, a message from the stars, a warning of danger. Evan noticed his friend's dim light. "You okay, Carell? You look dull today." Carell turned toward him. "I am uncertain," he said softly. "There are signs of a threat in space. I am not sure yet." Evan put down the screwdriver. "Threat like what kind?" Carell hesitated. "There is a force known to my kind, the Voidkin. They consume energy and leave darkness behind. Long ago they destroyed many worlds. But they vanished centuries ago. Or so we believed." Evan frowned. "And you think they're coming here?" "I do not know," Carell answered. The signal was distant. But if it was real, Earth might be in danger. For a few seconds, silence filled the room. Outside, life continued as normal. Cars moved, people laughed, birds sang. Yet for Evan and Carell, the world suddenly felt smaller. Over the following weeks, Carell became busier than ever. He connected his personal crystal node to the city's observation network and spent hours scanning the upper atmosphere. Evan often found him standing still, his body glowing with data streams. At the same time, Evan's engineering company received a new project, an energy system competition sponsored by the United Earth Science Council. The challenge was to build a device that could generate clean, limitless power. The winner would gain global recognition. Evan looked at the competition details and smiled. "Hey, Carell," he said one evening. "What if we joined this project together?" Carell turned curious. "You and I?" "Yeah," Evan said. "You know more about energy than any scientist I've met. And I could handle the hardware. We could make something big, something that might help the whole planet." Carell's light brightened slightly. a human-tethery collaboration. I liked the sound of that, and so the two began working day and night on what they called the resonance bridge, a machine that would combine Tethari harmonic energy with human quantum AI. Evan believed it could draw power from natural frequencies in space. Like a song between stars, their teamwork was remarkable. Evan handled circuits, Carell handled energy flow. Slowly, they began to understand each other's way of thinking. Evan once said, "You plan everything perfectly, Carol. But sometimes humans build things without knowing if they'll even work. That's how we discover new ideas," Carell smiled faintly. "Your kind dances on the edge of chaos and calls it creation. It is beautiful." One night, while testing the prototype, Carell suddenly stopped. His body flickered with strange red light. "Something is wrong," he whispered. "What?" Evan asked quickly. Carell's voice grew heavy. "The Voidkin. I have detected them, not one but many. They are moving through the outer system." Evan froze. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Their pattern is unmistakable." Carell looked toward the night sky through the window. "They will reach this world in less than a month." Evan's throat felt dry. "Then we have to tell someone, the government, the military, anyone." Carell nodded. "I will try to contact the Tethari Council as well. But the humans must be warned." They sent encrypted reports to Earth Defense Command. For a week, nothing happened. Then one morning, 2 armored vehicles stopped outside their building. Evan opened the door and saw 3 officers in dark uniforms. "Evan Carter?" one asked. "Yes," Evan said nervously. "You and your alien guest are required for questioning," the officer said. "Come with us." Evan looked at Carell, who stepped forward calmly. "It is all right," Carell said softly. "We expected this." They were taken to a government facility north of the city. Inside a white interrogation room, scientists and officials questioned Carell for hours. "Is this some trick?" one man asked. "You send a warning of an invisible enemy right after the power incident?" Carell remained calm. "I have no reason to deceive you. The void can consume energy, not life. If they reach Earth, your planet's systems will collapse." The officials whispered among themselves. Most didn't believe him. To them, it sounded like alien fiction. When Evan was finally allowed to speak, he stood up. "Listen," he said firmly. "I've seen what Carell can do. He doesn't lie. If he says something's coming, we should prepare." A woman in uniform looked unimpressed. "Prepare how, Mr. Carter? You expect us to believe in ghost ships?" Evan clenched his fists. "If we wait to see them, it'll be too late." But the meeting ended without decision. Carell was placed under surveillance and Evan was told to return home. That night, Evan sat alone in his dark apartment, frustrated. Hours later, a faint shimmer filled the air. Carell had escaped custody, using his energy form to bypass walls. "You came back," Evan said. "Surprised?" "I could not wait for your leaders to agree," Carell replied. "We must act ourselves. The resonance bridge is our only chance." Evan nodded slowly. "Then let's finish it." They moved their equipment to an old observatory outside the city, far from cameras and interference. The nights were cold there, but the stars were clear. Working together, they improved the resonance bridge. Carell tuned the harmonic crystals while Evan adjusted the stabilizers. The machine glowed softly, humming like a gentle heartbeat. During a break, they sat on the observatory steps, watching the sky. Carell spoke quietly. "When the Voidkin came to my homeworld, I fled. I was young and afraid. Many of my people perished. I survived only because I ran." Evan looked at him. "You couldn't have stopped them alone." Carell's voice dimmed. "Still, I feel guilt. If I had stayed, maybe I could have saved someone." Evan shook his head. "You can't change the past, but you can fight for the future. That's what matters now." Carell turned to him, glowing faintly blue. "You humans carry such strange strength. You lose, you fall, yet you keep standing." Evan smiled. "That's our thing. We never give up, even when everything looks impossible." Days later, strange things began to happen worldwide. Satellites went silent. Electrical storms formed in space. The night sky shimmered with unnatural light. News networks showed images of a black wave slowly approaching Earth's orbit. Panic spread. Some said it was a cosmic dust field. Others said it was an alien fleet. Evan and Carell watched from the observatory as the stars vanished one by one. "It has begun," Carell whispered. "The Voidkin are here." The next day, the government declared a global emergency. Cities prepared for evacuation. Carol and Evan received a message on their terminal. All citizens must proceed to underground shelters. Alien visitors are to report for transport. Evan looked at the message, then at Carol. They still don't understand, do they? Carel shook his head. They will, and soon. They turned on the resonance bridge. The machine pulsed brighter than ever before, sending waves of light into the air. But they needed more energy, far more than the observatory could provide. Evan thought for a moment. The orbital tower. It has the biggest energy core on the planet. If we can connect the bridge there, we might stop them. Carol agreed instantly. Then we go. As they packed their tools, thunder rumbled, not from the clouds, but from the sky itself. The heavens glowed with dark shapes moving like smoke. The Voidkin had reached orbit. For the first time, Evan felt real fear. But Carel placed a hand on his shoulder. Do not fear the dark, he said softly. It only grows when you stop shining, Evan nodded. Then let's light it up. They left the observatory under the falling night, carrying their creation, humanity's last hope, toward the rising shadow above Earth. Behind them, the city lights flickered, and across the world, millions of people looked up to see the sky turning black. A global broadcast voice spoke 3 final words before cutting off. Prepare for evacuation. And far beyond, unseen by human eyes, the stars themselves seemed to tremble as a wave of darkness swallowed their light. The city of New Brighton looked like a sea of shadows. The power was gone, the sky was dark, and the stars had disappeared. People ran in panic as the ground vibrated from distant impacts. The news channels had gone silent hours ago. Above the planet, the Voidkin swarm moved like black smoke, feeding on satellites and solar grids. Wherever they passed, light itself faded. The Earth began to lose its glow. But inside a speeding transport truck heading toward the orbital tower, 2 figures were still fighting, a human and a being of light. Evan Carter gripped the steering wheel tightly. The road ahead was cracked, filled with wreckage, but he didn't slow down. Beside him, Carel sat quietly, his glow faint but steady. How long until they reach the atmosphere? Evan asked. Carel closed his eyes, reading the energy waves. Less than 3 hours. The outer shields are already collapsing. Evan exhaled deeply. Then we'd better move faster. The orbital tower stood at the city's edge, rising high into the clouds. The tallest human-made structure, built to send cargo directly into space. Its central core was the largest power generator on the planet. It was the only place powerful enough to activate the resonance bridge. As they neared the base, they saw chaos. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians all trying to evacuate. The tower was half damaged by debris, but the energy core was still active. Evan parked the truck and jumped out. We made it, he shouted. Carel looked up at the enormous tower. This structure sings with energy. It will be enough. They ran inside, carrying the small crystalline engine that held the heart of the resonance bridge. The corridor shook as the sky outside flickered with strange lightning. When they reached the control room, a group of technicians turned toward them. One recognized Evan. Carter, you were part of the exchange program. What are you doing here? No time to explain, Evan said quickly. We can stop what's coming, but we need the core. The technician hesitated. Stop it, you mean the dark swarm? No one can stop that. Carel stepped forward. His glowing body filled the room with calm blue light. We can, but we need your help. The humans looked at him in awe. For a moment, fear faded. They nodded and cleared space for them to work. Evan connected cables while Carol tuned the resonance crystals. The machine began to hum softly, glowing brighter with each passing minute. On the main screen, the Voidkin swarm appeared larger and closer. A voice from the intercom said, This is Global Command. All remaining units are evacuating. Repeat, all personnel must leave the tower immediately. Evan ignored it. If we leave, everyone dies, he said. We finish this. Carel's glow brightened. Agreed. He placed his hand over the control terminal. The resonance bridge will create a field of pure harmonic energy. It will repel the Voidkin, but only if the signal stays stable. Evan frowned. What happens if it doesn't stay stable? Carel looked at him quietly. Then it will destroy everything nearby. Evan gave a small laugh. No pressure, huh? Carel tilted his head, confused. You make humor during danger. That's how humans stay calm, Evan said, smiling faintly. They worked in silence as the tower trembled. The resonance bridge glowed brighter until the entire control room was filled with blue and white light. Suddenly, the tower shook violently. Outside, the sky burst open. The Voidkin swarm had reached Earth's upper atmosphere. Massive shapes like black waves rolled through the clouds. Every light in the city went out. "Karel, they're here!" Evan shouted. Karel focused, his body glowing fiercely. "Then we must begin now." He placed both hands on the crystal engine. The resonance bridge roared to life, releasing beams of energy through the tower's upper rings. The entire sky lit up with streaks of blue light that clashed against the darkness above. From the streets below, people stopped running and looked up. For the first time in hours, they saw something brighter than the shadows, a beam of light reaching from Earth to space. Evan and Carol stood at the heart of it, surrounded by vibrations that felt like sound and wind combined. But the Voidkin fought back. Their energy waves began to overload the system. Alarms blared. The tower's walls cracked. Karel winced as sparks erupted around them. "The power is not enough. The Voidkin are feeding on the energy faster than we can produce it." Evan grabbed a console. "What if we amplify it through you? You're made of harmonic energy, right? You could boost the signal." Karel hesitated. "It will damage my core. I may not survive." Evan looked him straight in the eyes. "You said your people can't make mistakes. Maybe this is one mistake worth making." Karel's glow steadied. "You have learned from me, and I from you." He placed his hands over the core again. His light expanded, filling the chamber with blinding brightness. Outside, the resonance bridge beam grew wider, pushing against the black swarm. Evan watched the readings. "It's working!" he yelled. "Keep going!" But then suddenly the system began to destabilize. The human AI couldn't handle the random energy patterns. Karel cried out, "It is too unstable. The human algorithms cannot balance the harmonics." Evan's eyes widened as he realized something. Maybe they're not supposed to. He rushed toward the console. "You said Tathari systems need perfect balance. But humans aren't like that. We use chaos, instinct, emotion. What if I control it manually?" Karel looked shocked. "You could burn your mind." Evan smiled faintly. "Then I'll burn it bright." Without waiting, he connected the neural link cable to his headset and dived into the control interface. Instantly, his senses exploded with color and light. He saw Karel as a glowing being surrounded by swirling energy. Together they stood at the center of the storm. "Evan," Karel's voice echoed through his mind. "I can feel your thoughts. So much emotion. So much hope." "Yeah," Evan said inside the light. "That's what we are. That's what makes us human." He focused his thoughts, not on fear but on everything beautiful he knew. Laughter, friendship, music, the smell of rain, and the warmth of a shared meal. The system responded. The unstable patterns began to align, not through logic but through feeling. The resonance bridge pulsed brighter than ever before. Karel's voice trembled. "Your mind. It is guiding the harmony. You are the bridge now." "Then let's end this together," Evan said. Outside, the sky exploded in color. A massive wave of light spread from the tower, striking the Voidkin swarm. The creatures screamed silently as their dark forms burned away. One by one, they dissolved into starlight, leaving the sky clear again. From orbit, satellites recorded the event, a human-made beam pushing back a cosmic storm. On the ground, people watched in awe as daylight returned. The stars shone again. Inside the tower, the light finally dimmed. The air smelled of ozone. The resonance bridge engine was silent. Evan lay on the floor, barely conscious. Karel knelt beside him, his own body flickering weakly. "You did it," Evan whispered. "No," Karel said softly. "We did it." His light was fading. His voice became gentle. "Evan, my core will not last, but I can transfer part of my consciousness into the bridge. I will still be here in your world." Evan smiled tiredly. "Then you'll never be alone again." Karel's form brightened once more, a final burst of pure light that spread through the room. Then he was gone. The crystal engine pulsed once, then glowed softly as if alive. Weeks later, Earth began to rebuild. The resonance bridge, now a permanent structure, powered entire cities with clean energy. People called it the light of unity. Evan was honored as the hero who helped save the planet. But whenever reporters asked him how he did it, he always gave the same answer. "I didn't do it alone. I had help from a friend who came from the stars." In the control chamber of the orbital tower, the crystal engines still glowed quietly. Sometimes, when Evan visited, the lights flickered in familiar patterns, almost like words. He would smile and whisper, "Miss you too, Karel." Years passed. Humanity grew stronger. The Tethari returned to help rebuild, forming a new alliance with Earth. Together, they created the Carroll Foundation for Interstellar Friendship, dedicated to peace and learning between species. At the tower's base, a plaque stood for all to see. It read, "He came from the stars. He stayed for humanity." And at night, when the sky was clear, the beam from the resonance bridge reached toward the heavens, a symbol of unity between two very different worlds. No matter how dark the universe became, the story of one human and one being of light continued to shine, forever.